Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Spring-Ford Board of School Directors believes the community has the right to bring before the board issues and concerns they may have about items on the agenda or about items in general which affect the district or their children. Because of this belief and philosophy, the board will schedule a time at the beginning and conclusion of every meeting to have an opportunity for community members to share their concerns with the board. At the start of the meeting, members from the public may comment on agenda items only. The school board will move through the meeting agenda, then at the end, when prompted, there will be a time for public comment. This meeting is being filmed to be broadcast on community cable channels and online. Individuals attending to make public comment should be aware that they are being videotaped. Speakers will be asked to state their name and the area in which you reside before your comment.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. Mrs. Bickert, may we have a roll call?
Yes. In person, we have Mrs. Deerdorf, Mrs. Earl, Mrs. Hermans, Mr. Jackson, Dr. Motzer, Mr. Schaefer, Mrs. Weingarten, Dr. Wright, and Mrs. Zazowski is absent.
Okay, thank you very much. As far as announcements go, the board did meet prior to the 7:30 meeting at 6:30 to discuss personnel in an executive session. Mr. Rizzo, do you have any announcements?
I have no additional announcements.
Okay, wonderful. So we are going to move forward with public to be heard on agenda items only. If there is anyone in the room that would like to speak, please approach the podium with your name and township of residence, as well as the agenda item for which you are speaking to. Okay. With that said, we will move on to board and committee reports. With Mrs. Zazowski not here, we will not have the Western Montgomery Career and Technology Center report. As far as personnel, Mr. Jackson and I did meet along with Mrs. Zazowski to continue the meet and greets with Mrs. Lee. So I think that's about all we can say about that, is that we are continuing to meet as a personnel committee.
Correct.
All right, moving forward, legislative committee.
The Legislative Committee did not meet this month. We have our legislative breakfast on Friday morning that I'm looking forward to attending. If you don't mind, I can, since the legislative piece and the PSBA piece kind of this month go hand in hand, if I could just give my PSBA update as well.
Sure.
So on Monday the 17th was PSBA Advocacy Day. I was able to meet with Joe Webster, Katie Muth, Paul Friel's office, and Joe Cerisi. Senator Pennycook had to reschedule, so I'm looking forward to meeting with her. But it was a great day to meet with all of the legislators that impact us and advocate for public education, fair funding, charter reform, and let them know specifically what needs we're facing here at Spring-Ford and how they can continue to advocate for us. So it was a great day. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Deerdorf. Any questions? Okay, and I will say I just heard from Dr. G that she'll be joining us for the legislative breakfast on Friday, so that'll be nice. Looking forward to it. Okay, moving on, Dr. Wright, MCIU.
Thank you. The MCIU meeting is this Wednesday, our next meeting coming up, but from the last meeting, they just wanted to remind us that the week of May 1st through the 5th is Teacher Appreciation Week. That Monday, May 15th, is the 23rd Annual MCIU Education Foundation Golf Classic at Brookside Country Club in Pottstown. We also saw a presentation by the Director of Office of Student Services on the transition program that they offer that some of our students are involved in. It was very, very impressive there. So, and that's pretty much it. So I'll have another report. Actually, if we can move that report, Mrs. Bickert, from mine to the other meeting, if that's possible, Madam President, so that we can have it right after the meetings that I have at the IU. Make it a little bit more relevant.
So we can make it more timely?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Okay, moving on. I think we're going to go to Mr. Schaefer with American Legion.
Yeah, nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Mr. Rizzo.
Thank you. My report is relatively brief. Once again, I'd like to put a plug out there for SNAP. They are in need of volunteers and donations to help with the 2023 post-prom event at Arnold's on May 13th. For those that are interested, visit sfsnap.org to volunteer or to make a donation. I know last Thursday there was a President's Council meeting. I was not able to attend, but I know that both they and the boosters have been asking for people to continue to come and help and support. A lot of things happen. We need them. We need bodies to help make those things happen. Second, because I was not there last week, I was at the PMEA All-State Conference. I was wearing a dad hat, but I was there also as a superintendent for one of our students. Congratulations to 10th grader Daniel Chu for being honored at the PMEA State Convention for his outstanding original composition. He was one of 6 students and educators across the Commonwealth to earn this distinction. And while we have students attend regularly for participating in state-level ensembles, it's not common for Spring-Ford to have a student be recognized for an original composition. So it was a fantastic time to meet with he and Miss McGranahan and his parents. They performed, they played the recording of it. He had a chance to talk about the reason and the inspiration behind it, and he did a fantastic job. He represented Spring-Ford very well, so congratulations to Daniel Chu. Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, we'd like to talk about retirees. We have 2. One is a comeback from last month. Carol Baldassari, 20 years of service in Spring-Ford. On last month's agenda, she was not listed for purposes of retirement, so she's on this month for purposes of retirement. And then second, we have Joe Mayo, our information systems analyst with 6.5 years of service here at Spring-Ford. Again, with these 2 individuals, they've dedicated 26.5 years of their lives serving our Spring-Ford students, so we wish them well. And that's the end of my report.
Another round of applause for
Yep,
that.
another round of applause.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Rizzo? Okay, Mr. Fitzgerald?
Good evening. I have no report this evening.
Okay, wonderful. So now we're going to move on to the voting portion of our meeting. For those that attended last week, these are items that we had discussed last week, but now we're going to actually see if they pass. So moving forward, we're going to look at Section 3 minutes A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Questions and discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 8-0. Moving on to personnel, letters A through L. Give you a moment to look at it. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Questions and discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes 8-0. Moving on to finance, letters A through H. And I will separate out letter F. Any others? Okay. So we're looking at this point for finance, letters A through H minus F. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Questions and discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Now looking at finance, letter F. Is there a motion? So moved. Is there a second? Okay. Questions and discussion? Since I separated this, I am just going to restate what I said last week, which is, as a general securities principal working in a financial services industry for a municipal money manager, I must abstain from the issuance of any bonds for which they could potentially buy up. So that is a conflict of interest with my employer. All right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? And one abstention. So Mrs. Bickert, 7-0. Okay. Moving on to properties, letter A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes 8-0. Okay, looking at programming and curriculum, letters A through U. Give it a moment.
We kindly separate L.
Yes, sir. Separating L. Any others? Okay, so then we are going to move forward with programming and curriculum, letters A through U minus L. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions and discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 8-0. Moving on to programming and curriculum, letter L. Do I have a motion? A second? Second. Questions and discussion?
I separated this just because I brought this up during the committee meeting. I do have a question. Is this for a one-year renewal?
Katie, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. And I learned that the enrollment was, from my perspective, surprisingly low. And while I do respect and will vote to support this this evening, I'm just wondering what the plan is long-term with such a high expense with such a small enrollment. Thank you.
And we did discuss this at the curriculum table, that there are 15 students in level 1, 5 students in 2, and 2 students in 3, I believe. And we discussed the fact that whether we would want to continue in the future, but we would want to then phase it out, so if that was possible, so that any of the students that are currently enrolled in it would not be unenrolled or be able to participate somehow. Did you want to add anything else to that, Dr. Murray?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say as well.
Shouldn't there be some kind of a minimum number to have?
I think this is something that we're going to discuss moving forward. There had previously been discussion about, last year, about German, continuing that. I think it's an ongoing discussion at the table, and yes.
The one piece I think is really important is that as long as a student has started it, from my perspective, I think we should at least allow them to finish that language. So as a committee, we can certainly look into it further and whether or not we're going to continue to offer it in the future. But I would strongly recommend, if we were going to go in that direction, that we would consider a phase-out plan first so that students who've already committed to that language could continue that. But what I would recommend at this point, that we've heard your concerns and we take it back to the committee for further discussion.
Great, I think there's a lot of merit to that. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Shaver. Okay, with that said, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, we already did that.
I'm sorry, I apologize. We got good discussion. So with that said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, any opposed? That motion passes 8-0. So moving on to conferences and workshop, letters A through C. Do I have a motion? A second? Okay. Questions and discussion?
I have a quick question on C. It says the cost will not exceed the previously approved amount, which was approved on the 27th of March. Do we know that amount?
We had a few employees attending this conference.
Okay.
So what we did was, because Joe Mayo had submitted his retirement, we did swap out the person so that we can also work on cross-training to make sure that we have a continuation plan. Joe works a lot with Skyward, and this particular conference was a Skyward conference, so it was a good opportunity to do some cross-training. I don't remember the exact number, but it's just a swap of a person in that position.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes 8-0. Moving on to Section 9, Other Business, letters A and B. C is a first read only. Okay. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Second. Questions and discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? You're good. Okay.
No.
So that motion passes 8-0. Okay, which takes us to board comment. Do we have any board comment tonight? Okay. All right.
I do, actually. I would just like to bring the community's attention to the Ed Foundation's 5K run walk, and also challenge all of my colleagues on the board to participate. It is Friday, May the 5th. You can register online in advance, or you can show up that night at 5:30, and the event begins at 6:30. Again, the Ed Foundation is a great way for the community to support the district and get a little bit of exercise as well. Hopefully we'll have better weather than we've had in the past, where I believe pre-COVID it had to be canceled due to a hurricane or something to that degree. So thank you for allowing me to bring that up.
Good.
Mr. Rizzo, you'll be there, I believe.
I will definitely be there, watching you all participate.
Watching, that's right.
Yes.
Somebody has to hand the water out.
That's right.
Mr. Schaefer, do you know off the top of your head, is there a date, or is the Ed Foundation still doing a golf outing this year? Yes? Everyone's saying
They
yes.
are.
Do we know
If you'll
when
give
it
me a
is?
minute, it's in August. I know
August
that.
5th.
August 5th, there we go.
August 5th,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. We're
I
staying.
have to work this Friday, so I can't make that, but I'll try to make the golf.
And I hope you're okay with registration table workers as opposed to runners, because I will be there doing that.
Yes, that'll work.
Okay, good. All right, any other board comment? Yes, Dr. Motzer.
I believe this week we're starting PSSA testing in our schools, so I just wanted to wish the students luck this week. I know this is one measure of the culmination of learning and teaching that has occurred throughout the year, and is also months-long process of just organizing the testing materials and the testing process. So just wanted to thank the staff and the faculty who spent hours and hours making this week and next week and possibly the week after work. So good luck to everyone.
And with that, we wish also the AP test takers, the first 2 weeks in May, we'll be testing for that. So good luck for the AP test takers, which one might be at our table here.
Okay, thank you. Any additional board comment? Okay, with that said, we'll turn it over to the public. Public to be heard. This doesn't have to be on agenda items. If you'd like to speak, please approach the podium with your name and your township of residence. Okay, motion to adjourn. So moved. Okay, meeting adjourned.